I got a whole bunch of new cordless hobby tools in Aldi. Hi and welcome back to the shed. I'm Joe Bleeps, and in this video I'm going to be showing you some tools I found in Aldi of all places. So last Sunday I was going around Aldi doing my usual weekly shop and I spotted these on the shelves. It's a selection of 4-volt lithium ion powered cordless hobby tools, all of which are the kind of thing I would use when I'm doing all of my modding. So the first thing to catch my eye was this cordless glue gun. I've been after a cordless glue gun for a while, and when I spotted this on the shelves at £14.99, I thought it'd be definitely worth a try. And then a little further along, I found this, which is again £14.99, and it's a cordless Dremel to all intents and purposes. So I definitely picked that one up and added it to my trolley as well. And then finally, I spotted this soldering iron. Now, I'll be honest with you, I saw it, I picked it up, I took a look, it didn't really look suited to my needs. I put it back, I walked off, I did a bit more shopping, and then I changed my mind and went back and grabbed one anyway. For 15 quid, it was definitely worth a look. So in this video, I'll be taking a quick look at all three, letting you know what I think and letting you know how they're going to fit into my everyday toolkit for my modding. So they were a bargain, but a bargain is only a bargain if the thing actually turns out to be any good. And are they any good? Let's take a look. I picked all of these up in Aldi for less than 15 quid each. We've got a cordless glue gun, we've got a cordless soldering iron, and we've got a cordless rotary tool. We'll go through them one at a time and I'll tell you what I think. So first up, the hot glue gun. Now this was what caught my attention. First of all, I had my eye on getting one of these for a while. You can see it's got actually molded into it X Power. You can tell all of these tools are different brands that are just rebadged with the Aldi Ferrex name. They tend to have a decent colour scheme to them with the black and the grey and the blue, so they look all right. And in terms of ergonomics, it's very good. It's a very comfortable grip and it's suitable for both hands. It's easy to take these sticks. By the way, you get 10 of these glue sticks with it, but it's the standard 7mm glue sticks that you get for all hot glue guns of this sort of size, so they're very easy to get hold of fairly cheaply. They feed in from the back. There's one in there already, so that just feeds in through there. And you can see when it's starting to run out as it disappears into that bit, and you can have your next one queued up ready. It looks like there's a little bit of a battery attachment on the bottom, but it's not. It's just a flat base there with a USB-C connector for charging, and you can just stand it upright and it stands absolutely fine. It's also on this kind of upright angle as well, so you don't end up with much in the way of drip out of the end while it's not in use. So on top we've got a power button, we've got a light button, and we've got 2 LEDs. So to switch on, you press and hold here and you'll get 2 lights coming on. That's just to say it's powered on. This one is to say it's warming up. So if it is a red LED, it means it's heating up, and when it's both of them are blue, it means it's up to the right temperature. And it's about 15 seconds for it to get up to the right temperature. That is now ready to use. It's that quick. So as with most glue guns, when it's heated up there, you can press and hold. There's also a little LED light in there. You can press that and it switches on a little torch. So that kind of lights up and shows where, well, it shows just below where you're gluing, but you know, it's just one of those things. So you squeeze, and depending on how hard you hold that trigger, you get a nice controlled bead of glue. Loads of control, and you don't get loads of excess drip out of the end as well. I'm really pleased with this thing. The glue, obviously you can buy any glue sticks, you can buy the branded glue sticks and everything else. This melts it really evenly, so in terms of the quality of stick, it's going to be absolutely fine. Like if we fold that there, that would just hold it together. And you can use hot glue for securing things in place. You can use it for insulating over areas of electronics that you've soldered. Obviously I don't need to sell a hot glue gun to you. It's a really useful tool when you're modding, but for me, I think this one in particular is going to be really handy, because in my generally quite cramped workspace, if I've got like this and my soldering iron and my Dremel with cables going everywhere, it's very quick for these to become a little bit cluttered. Also, my old glue gun wouldn't stand up, so you had to leave it on its side, and it kind of ended up a little messy. So this one being able to stand up quite securely that way is absolutely fine for me. I've used it quite a bit and it holds its charge quite well. I've not had to recharge it yet since I first charged it, so time will tell how effective that is, and a single press of the power button will switch it off. So yeah, I think I am going to be using that quite a bit, and I've already packed away my existing hot glue gun because I'll be using this as my main go-to glue gun for the time being. Next up, and the one I was really excited and surprised about, like 15 quid for a cordless Dremel. Like, I've got an actual branded Dremel, but it's a corded one. It's variable speed. I use it a lot. Yeah, the chance to get my hands on a cordless one at such a low price, even if it was rubbish, I think it was worth a try. As it happens, it is not rubbish. It's fairly basic, but it is a variable speed. This will increase and decrease your speed. So when you switch on with the switch here, it sets on at the medium speed, and then you can increase by tapping or decrease. And I think my Dremel's got like a sliding switch to gradually increase or decrease, but I think these 5 settings will give you everything that you need. I've given this a bit of a workout already, because my camera holder that I've got my phone sitting in up here that I 3D printed, I forgot to leave a hole for the USB-C connector. So yeah, I had to quickly cut one out with this. At high speeds, it was melting the plastic a bit much. When I lowered it, it was pretty good. So yeah, it's absolutely fine. And not only do you get the tool itself, but also you get this tray of all of your standard kind of bits and pieces. So you've got like the little sander bobbins, you've got loads of different cutting tools. The one I mainly use is like this little cylindrical pink one. That's really handy for just getting rid of little bits of plastic within Game Boy shells and things like that. You've got a lot of cutting discs, sanding discs. Now these discs get mounted onto this bit here. So there's just a little screw that gets undone, and you place the disc on the top. That gets mounted into the chuck on the cutter. So there's a tool that comes with it, this little spanner. So that's got the screwdriver on one end, and at the other end, this spanner is used to open up the chuck. So there's a little button there to lock it. So this will spin freely unless you press in here, and then it'll lock, and then you use the spanner to undo it. You just unscrew that a bit. You can remove the bit. Now I've found the bits tend to get quite securely in place in there once they've been used. But if you undo that, they'll just slide out, and then you can slide the next tool in, fasten that up, and just use the spanner to lock it in position, and then you can use it with the next tool in there. There's polishing discs, there's all sorts of stuff, and it's in a nice little organized tray. I'm quite happy with that. And like I say, I've tested it out, and I've tested out like a lot of the time with these, the bits that you get are really poor quality, but that was fine in terms of trimming away plastic. Your mileage may vary depending on what you're trying to use it for, but I think in terms of the quality of it, there's a nice sort of weight to it, but it's not too heavy. It's comfortable to hold in that kind of like a pen grip, as well as holding it, you know, in the main grip like that. The actual surface, like this black surface, is like a slightly rubbery textured surface, so you get plenty of grip on it. My only criticism really is that when you put it down, it tends to kind of roll around a little bit. I might have to design and 3D print some sort of vertical stand to just sit it in. It would have been nice for that to come with a stand, like you got with the soldering iron, which I'll get onto next. But on the whole, it's a really nice little piece of kit, and for the amount of stuff you get and for the quality of it, it's pretty good for 15 quid. The battery life seems pretty good. I used it. Now, when you plug it in to charge it, if you just get a charging cable here, because each of these tools come with a USB-C cable for charging. They don't come with an adapter, but you can plug it into any sort of phone charger or computer USB or something like that. Now, when you plug in to charge, at the moment, I've got like 3 LEDs lit up solid, and it's sort of cycling through the others. And then as it gradually gets more charged, you'll get more lit up solid. So that was after about sort of 10, 15 minutes continuous use on the high speeds, where it ended up down to about this sort of just above halfway point. So I would say if I got about half an hour's use out of this without charging it, that would be fine. One thing to note is that although you can charge it and it will work, if you have got it charging, it is not then operable. You can either charge it or you can use it. You can't do both at the same time, so just be aware of that. It does charge pretty quickly though, so it's not really an issue in terms of if the battery runs out while you're using it, just pop it on charge for another 10 minutes and you'll get a bit more use out of it. So yeah, I would say out of all 3 tools, like in terms of value for money, I feel like you get a lot for your money with this one. I'm really, really glad I picked it up. Now, the one tool that I didn't immediately pick up was the soldering iron. Now, that might surprise you because I do a lot of soldering in my videos, and I am evangelical when it comes to soldering and trying to convince people to learn. And this would be a really good entry point. The thing about it is that this is really intended for a little more kind of basic heavy duty kind of soldering jobs, general electricals, things like that, not for the fine detailed delicate soldering work that I usually do. But that said, a cordless soldering iron for 15 quid, I couldn't really pass it up. I wanted to check it out and see. Now these have got replaceable tips on them. If I just grab a pair of pliers, the tip will unscrew. And these have got, it's a bit like a kind of an Edison screw, light bulb type fitment to power it. And I did a bit of searching online and found you can actually get replacement tips. So I've ordered a pack of tips of different shapes, sizes that may be more suitable for the kind of thing I do. But that just screws into the main housing. I'll nip it up a little tighter, but don't over tighten. And then that is your soldering iron ready to go. Again, it's got the USB-C charging port there. In terms of controls, it's got a power button there, which you press and hold and it will come on, and you'll see these LEDs light up when it is on. But there's another LED here for when you're using it. Now, in terms of controls, there's a touch sensor on the side. So it's designed so that you can hold it like this, and as your thumb rests on the side, it will heat up. So the red LED means it is warming up, and when it's warm enough to use, then that will glow green. However, I am left-handed, so my thumb is useless. So I needed to adapt my grip a little bit to get a finger grip there. It does work with your finger, so that's okay, but it was a little awkward. Your alternative is you could hold it upside down, which is relatively comfortable, but you can't see whether it is on or not. So it's just one of those little minor points, but it's generally ergonomically left or right-handed is fine, but it's just that one position of the control there that kind of caused me a little bit of awkwardness. Anyway, you don't just get the soldering iron. Let's just switch that off a moment. See, because the thing is, you wouldn't normally just put down a soldering iron that was hot. You need somewhere to put it. And it does come with a pretty decent stand. It seems to be weighted in the bottom. It's a two-part plastic mold. It has a metal tube down here for when you put this in place. But yeah, it's got a decent bit of a weight to it, and the soldering iron stands fairly upright in there and is relatively stable. I'm really pleased with that. I'm quite happy with the stand that you get. However, with a soldering iron stand, you tend to have a space for a sponge. This is absolutely useless. The sponge that comes with it is slightly too big, so when I tried to wipe off the tip of the iron, it just wiped the whole sponge off the stand. But what I did was spend a little bit of time and design this little container for the sponge. There's a little section on the bottom which is just the right size to snap in place on here. So now I have got a little tray for the sponge to go in. It secures and attaches pretty solid on there. And to save the sponge from drying out, I've also got this little 3D printed lid here. So that just clicks on top and it fits fairly nicely with it. So I'll upload the designs for that onto printables.com if anybody wants to download. I'm Joe Bleeps on there as well. So if you have a look at my stuff, if you want to download and print one of these, if you've got one of these soldering irons, feel free, let me know how you get on. So in terms of using this, I've done a little bit of test soldering. I got a wire and attached 2 wires together, attached it to a resistor there as well. Let's just get ready for doing another test fit. Okay, so if I just took the red wire here, strip that, twist it, take that to my resistor and twist these wires together, and we'll just do a quick solder job to solder those in place and test it out. So I'll just put that in my helping hands here and here, and then I've just got to warm up my soldering iron, and I will also need some soft solder. I've got some here. Actually, it does come with some solder. I don't know whether that solder is any good. I've not really tried it because I was just using my own solder here, but you get, you get the stand, you get the sponge, you get the soldering iron, you get some solder, you get everything you need. Like, if you're new to soldering and you always wanted to try it out, then this would be a really good little gateway piece of kit. I see myself using this mainly for the slightly more heavy duty stuff that my other soldering iron. So this here has a much finer tip. It's used for much more delicate work. And when I tend to need to desolder great big blobs from old battery contacts on Game Boys and things like that, this can struggle a little bit. I'm thinking maybe this will be quite well suited to the job. So you can see I've been holding it with my finger on the contact there now, and it's showing up as green. That means it is now warm enough to use. There is a bit of excess solder from when I was using it before, but now it's up to temperature. I should be able to just wipe that off quite easily on the sponge. There we go, and that's cleaned up and ready to use. Now, when I first got it, the solder was reluctant to stick to it, but once you've used it a little bit, it sort of tins the tip. It gets a little more shiny, and it is able to, if I just dab the solder on the end there, you'll see it just melt on impact there. So to solder these two together, I'll simply just rest the iron on the surface, add a little bit of solder, give it time to flow, and move away, and that's it. And as soon as I let go, it will start to cool down. You can see that my battery, because I've used it a little while now, is starting to dwindle a little. But I would say, because you're only powering it on for when you're using it, like if I switch that off now and put it in its stand, whenever I need to use it, it heats up in like 15 seconds. So it's really quick to warm up. So you don't need to have it permanently switched on. So that is neatly soldered, and you know, that's pretty much it for the soldering iron. So despite my initial reservations, if you are interested in getting yourself a soldering iron, if you've never owned one before and you want a cheap entry to soldering, this is something worth trying. And if you have smaller, more delicate soldering irons like mine, and you sometimes need something a little more hefty, then this might be worth your consideration. Particularly like the stand that comes with it, and since I've done the upgrade to the sponge holder, I'm finding it much more versatile. So all in, you know, with the soldering iron and the rotary cutter and my new hot glue gun, I'm pretty pleased. And that's it. I really do feel like I stumbled across a bargain there. I'm interested to see how the soldering iron holds up when I get the new tips. I'll have to try it out on an actual project and see where its strengths lie, and then I'll probably be able to work really well between the TS80P and that to do pretty much any soldering job that I'll need to in this little workshop. Other than that though, the glue gun and the rotary tool are definitely going to become a staple in my general desktop toolkit. I've already packed away my Dremel, I've packed away my Bostik glue gun, and I'll be using those quite a bit over upcoming projects, so I'll let you know how I get on with those. Now, these can be used for all sorts of different things, but of course, in terms of my sort of content and in terms of what I'm going to be using them for, it's the general sort of modding stuff with my video games, consoles, and so on that I'll be using them for. And if you want to get into modding, you could do really well to check out Z Labs. I've left a link in the description. They sell all sorts of gear for modding, all sorts of bits and pieces for building your own custom Game Boys or doing repairs to controllers or anything like that. Check them out. If you use my link in the description, you'll get a little bit of a discount on your order, and you'll be supporting my channel because it's an affiliate link. So I'd appreciate that if you want to take a look. So that is it from me for now. I really would appreciate any likes, any comments, any subscriptions, signing up for notifications, anything that gets more traffic going towards this channel and I can keep growing it. I really appreciate everybody's support. This is Joe Bleeps signing off from the shed. If you want to see more of me, there's some videos popping up here for you. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Bye.